Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Welcome, everybody, to the Genesis Science Fiction Radio Show, a service of the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website. This is the February 20th, 2015 edition, and my special guest now, my name is William Hayashi, radio guy extraordinaire, and my special guest for tonight is Carles Juzang, and we had a little bit of a discussion before the show started recording about the etymology of his name. Wasn't that important. Basically, I'm just going to call him CJ. So how you doing tonight, CJ?
I'm good, thank you. I hope everybody else is all right, because you all, I believe, is snowed in.
It's been a little bit rugged. We're having a heat wave here in Chicago. I think it's up to 15. Where are you coming to us from?
I'm coming from California, where we have real heat waves.
Well, don't say it like that. I mean, everybody's weather is their weather, and I used to feel bad. No, seriously, I used to feel bad about, it's Chicago, it's the winter. Oh, I wish I was someplace else. But, if I'm too damn lazy to get my ass out of here, I deserve what I get, okay? And I should quit complaining.
And I can't say anything because I used to live there anyway.
Yeah, and the thing is, you've got your own trials and tribulations. You've got drought. You've got people who take themselves way too damn seriously. I mean, California is not the Mecca that some people might believe that it is.
Let's not forget the earth shakes every now and again.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And the fact that, Las Vegas could become beachfront property one day.
Yeah, something like that. What I'm upset is how come when we live in 2015, no one has thought of a way to partially solve the drought by getting all that frozen water and shipping it this way and start complaining about we got no place to put it. Oh, my God. But that's another conversation. So I just thought I'd throw that out there since this is a science fiction society. So somebody think of some kind of scientific way.
I can tell you why it doesn't happen. Here's why it doesn't happen. Rich folks can get water. Okay, they can pay for their water. All right?
Yeah.
Regular street people can't pay for the water. So if we were going to spend money to bring water from one place to another, they would only do it for rich folks, okay? Because rich folks basically pay the bills of the people who decide what goes on in our society.
Yeah.
Depressing, I know. And for those people who live in the comic book world, I have a problem with the fact that Storm, with all of her powers and things like that, she's not addressing drought, either in Africa or America. But that's just me.
Not just America, but the continent has been going through the desert crouching, and crouching in a lot of the areas. A lot of the areas that was really was jungle is now turned to desert, and it's been going on for quite some time. And yes, how come nobody has thought about making that, that Earth? She can solve that Earth's problem. Okay, like that. She is the weather woman.
Yeah, but I don't really want to pick on her. But let's get back to you. Essentially, you're an artist. You're an illustrator. You are a content creator. And let's start out kind of like where you grew up. You mentioned that you were in this area for a while. Was that when you were younger, elementary school?
No. It happened quite the opposite. In fact, the only thing is I was born there in Chicago at Cook County.
Right.
And then when I was about 3, we went to come out to Oakland Bay Area because my grandmother's sister lived here with her husband, lived in Oakland with her husband. So we took this California Zephyr, if anybody remembers that. I think that's still around. The train and rode from Chicago all the way to Oakland. That was a memorable trip for me too. And then started life there, growing up from I think I was 3 till I got 21.
Wow.
At age 21, and being the usual as a child and teenager, I was tired of the place I grew up in, so And I was always trying to find a way to reconnect with my father, who lived in Chicago, and I just decided to move to Chicago. So
Okay.
that was it. And
what part of Chicago?
well, my father lived south. The area of 100 between I forgot the name of Elgard Gardens.
Okay.
Over in that area, 106 and Vernon's where he lived. Family still own that property too. They over there, and I stayed there for a while. Then I started playing musical relatives and stayed with some other folks. Went to IIT down there on Wabash. Yeah, and tried to become an architect. Found out that wasn't the way. That wasn't the thing. Even though it was the thing for me, it wasn't a thing in the sense that at that point in time when I tried, architects was being downgraded. That was the first wave of economic downturn, and architects was taking it by at least that curriculum. They was like, we can't find no jobs. Oh, we just graduated. So things like that.
Right.
So, and that didn't stop me because I tried. When I didn't go there, tried to go to Circle and couldn't do it because reality set in about you ain't rich. So then I proceeded to try to use my.
Wait, you couldn't get in the U
No,
of
I got
I?
in. No, I got in.
Okay.
It's just that, just like I said, I'm not rich. So only kids these days really can relate. Then it's a choice: either you go to school and you find somebody to live with that's gonna take care of your needs, or you just don't go to school and you work. Because way the cost of living is these days, I cannot see you doing what I was able to do. Not that well unless you have a real support system, and I did all this without a real support system. What I consider a support system, you got a mom, a pop, or uncle, or aunt, or somebody that's making sure you got a place to sleep, you got food to put in your stomach. You always got and these are a constant. This ain't just every once in a while. Okay, you got a place that you can call home. These days, unless you really, like I said, unless you got those things, you are not, and they are able to do that. In other words, put you through school and feed you. Then I don't see that happening too swiftly unless you're already rich.
And so, out of all of that time that you were like in my neighborhood, my neck of the woods, were you doing any of the creative things that kind of have taken you to where you are now, or was that something that kind of? So talk about
when I was first of all I had been drawing all of my life. Let's get that straight and point. Okay, from day one, the first thing I saw that was Mickey and Donald. Somebody gave me a scrapbook. I took it as a sketchbook and started to take the scrapbook and draw in it, even though those papers were like old school comic book page quality paper. So that was basically the first subject was Mickey and Donald, okay? And first things that I was in love, not with Mickey and Donald, but with Walt Disney creations and creative force, because my favorite animated film, surprisingly enough, was Fantasia, which most folks at my age was not looking at no Fantasia.
Yeah, but that's not that bad. I mean, a lot of people's imaginations were inspired by Fantasia because not only was it a film, but it also merged music with film in a way that hadn't been done before. So it was pretty compelling for people of all ages. So I mean, it's not surprising that it would have had an influence on you. But I mean, once you saw that, how did that drive your creativity?
Well, it just forced me more to get into drawing and trying to want to do animation. When I was there when I was in Chicago, even even when I was going to school, and then when I dropped out eventually, I was doing freelance work. I was doing freelance work, trying to work for magazines. I was doing freelance work, doing keyline and paste up, which these days keyline no longer exists. You do it on the computer, and you use programs to do it with, which is like PageMaker or what's the other one now, Quark or something else. Some Illustrator, things like that. And the only thing we were doing it, by hand. Cutting out paper and cutting out graphics and put them on the paper, and then having the printer shoot them and do things like that. But but mostly I was entering art fairs. Let's see what else I would do is that, painting murals. I decided, like I said, as a young, I was going to do art, okay? And it wasn't, partially was me trying to let's just say being a rebel against my parents and all, which were not very supportive when it came to my art.
Were they the kind who said to you better find a serious skill, something you could make money at, or I mean, did they agree to
that's one of the statements. That's one of the statements that came up. Okay, that's one. It depends on the relatives, That was one of them. The other, some of them was basically they were dealing with the times that they were living in. Not that they knocked it, not that they didn't think I was any good, but the fact is, brother, you a black man, okay? You a black boy, okay? You get my drift? Okay, it's be nice. If you was white, we wouldn't even trip off of it. But you a black boy, okay? It's too many things that one you need to be doing, and the other thing is just I hate to see you get your stuff, your expectations all blown out of proportion and then get disappointed. So from that level, it was and then there was others that just like that. You better get you a job.
Well, I mean, it wasn't born of meanness, though. I've run into so many people whose parents genuinely wanted to push them in what they thought was a sustainable direction. A direction into a trade or into a skill set that they perceived would be and man, I mean,
but see, my situation was a little bit different for the reason that my mom died when I was 13, around 13. I was staying with my stepfather, which at that point was strained because, and thus I went and moved out of my stepfather's house to live with my grandmother. And at that point, when I did that, I was more so playing breadwinner too. We both were supporting each other at 13, 14, all while I was till I got out of high school to live. Okay, so that, and even then, okay, I was still dealing with art. When I was at school, I got a part-time job working for it was an arts and crafts school. It was which was located in a park, and what I was doing, I was a helper. But I would help the teachers get their art classes together. Sometimes work with the children to help them start and motivate them to do an art and stuff like that. But more so, my situation wasn't all like I had moms and pops there. They were not really there. I was doing this on my own drive, on my own will and passion. Got into things, some things I should have got into, some things I didn't get into. I learned, Black Panther shit. I got into that. Because I liked their graphics, even though some folks thought their graphics sucked. They weren't professional, but I look at it this way. If you can look at Ramir Burden, you can see that. You can look at that and see what was going on. Okay, they were more political. He was political too, but he just did it with no words. They were using words and all, a different type of multimedia, almost graffiti-like. But that's basically my approach, and thus when I was in Chicago, which at that point I was adult, I was pretty much doing my own thing to make sure I would stay within doing arts. doing my art, okay, to the point that the reason, in fact, the stuff that I'm coming out with, Yele Nubian Warrior, that stuff really began when I was in Chicago. And that's a story that we can get into, because that showed me, for one, that was one instance that I said that maybe I think twice about trying to work for a comic book company, but I looked at it as the fact that this was a small time person, so it couldn't be like that in the real big world. All right. My situation was, okay, here I am going to comic book shops. Okay, I think most of us creators are familiar with the situation where you got a lot of creators, folks that's writing, folks that want to do things, and they know you're an artist, so they want you to do the artwork, you do the writing, all that. Okay, fine. We worked that out. So I went to this place, and what happened was that a person wanted a sword and sorcery brand. They were trying to compete with Conan, so they wanted a sword and sorcery story, and they wanted some characters, develop some characters. So they gave me, usual synopsis of the characters and all this, and I said, the kind of person I am, I want you to give me feedback of what you, as an individual, want the characters to look like and what you want them to do. This person, he's like, and I got to mention this, okay, this person is white, okay, this is a white person, this is a white guy and all that, okay, and, usually in the comic book world, at that point, I thought most of the folks that's dealing with comics and were very progressive, dreamers and all that. So, giving back again, he tells me, okay, you have free reign. Yeah, make the characters how you feel and see them. Okay, this is the situation. This is what they're going to be happening. All right. So in my mind, and this is maybe I was crazy, all my characters, I pictured all these characters he had were all black. In fact, I said, I didn't want to do no sword and sorcery like Conan, okay, that looked like it was a bite of Conan. I wanted something totally different, some black characters. We might throw a few white characters in there once and twice, but the main characters are all black, and this is something that's new. I think I drew about five of the main characters. Yeah, 5 of the main characters. And then here we come, just drawing character sketches, character design, headshots, and an action pose. So I go in, we supposed to meet, I go in and show the stuff, and then that's when the person's personality just flipped and showed me that all white people, at that point in my mind, were alike. He called all the characters ugly, told me I couldn't draw, said you didn't even follow my directions of what I said, which I'm trying to figure out, well, what direction? You told me you gave me free reign. So I'm like, okay, fine. I took my drawings and went elsewhere, didn't go elsewhere. I just renamed them and decided I was going to create my own sword and sorcery using new characters, develop the whole concept, and roll from there. And when I really had done it, I was at the time when I really had done it when I started to work, when I moved to Jersey, okay, because before I moved to Jersey, I had moved to New York too. Moved to Jersey and worked for a publishing company. I don't know if anyone in the audience or yourself is familiar with Africa World Press, Red Sea Press.
Nope, never been.
Never heard of Africa World Press, Red Sea Press?
Not. I may have.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm in New Jersey, but I was the art director there at that time. This was around in the 90s, and met a lot of different authors. They were more progressive art because this publisher, he was professor. He's a professor. He's from Eritrea, and he got the concept of developing the book publishing company, the business book publishing company, because he was teaching in colleges, and he couldn't get books that for the classes he needed to teach. Either they were out, or they didn't carry them, or they wouldn't, or the university wouldn't buy them. Stupid stuff like that. Which like I say, black people in America can relate with all what he was going through. He just couldn't understand it. So, so at the point, he decided, okay, well, I'm gonna be a book publishing company, and then I'm gonna push a lot of the publishers, which were African, from the diaspora, not necessarily all from Africa, from different parts of Africa, which is a continent of many countries, as well as places from Brazil, places here in America, places in Canada, all Britain. So anybody that needed a book, for example, so that they could teach or can draw stuff from and get it pushed by the universities that they tell in, they would come in there, him, and he would kind of get it published and make it available so that, folks, he can really validate their teaching credentials in the sense that they have something to back all the stuff that they were doing their lesson syllabuses about. So
he created a boutique publishing company for the academic world.
For not just the academic world, because at the time that I came around, that was the first wave of the the Black consciousness movement, in a sense, in the 90s, when you had and when not only NWA, we had West Coast, but you had all the other group on the East Coast. And I don't know why the name escaped me. Maybe it's because I'm nervous because I'm talking. but it was during that time when Spike Lee had Do the Right Thing out and all that. Do you understand the important time period I was talking about?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what we had was an explosion of what was, for most people, a newer musical art form. Okay, and a lot of people got in on it. And a lot of people saw a lot of money in it, which is why we had, some of that East Coast, West Coast nonsense, where people.
But it wasn't. But the part I wasn't the music. I was just using the music to relate to the time that.
No, I know, but remember, music drives a lot of our culture. Okay?
Yeah.
If we were to be very, very honest, our culture, black culture, is not driven by writing, okay? And it's certainly not driven by comic books. It's not, the things that drive black culture, unfortunately, and, I don't want any dilettantes getting upset with me saying, well, I read books, and I do this, and I do that. Let's look at the bigger picture. What drives black culture? Right now we got music. We got, and even back then, music has always been big. I mean, look at all these crazy-ass people now who are upset that there's some pictures of Beyonce with no makeup on. So there are certain things that people gravitate around the culture. But for you, I mean, when you're out on the East Coast at that time, what were some of the bigger artistic influences that were wrapping around you?
At that time, the bigger artistic influences. Okay.
I mean, whether it's art, whether it's drawing, whether it's music, I mean, what were, like here in the Midwest during the 90s? Go ahead.
During that time, it was more some music and the poets, as well as the with music with me, it depends, because it depends on what day of the week it was. Because that's the deal. During the day, during the normal week way, I was mostly listening to R&B and rap. But on the weekends, then it was all house music. That's what I said.
Okay, I mean, I understand. I understand that. But I mean, when we look at creatives like you, or even creatives like me, there are cultural influences that drive us to do what we do. For you, you had been drawing for quite some time. I mean, you had been in the visual arts for quite a lot of time. So when you come east, what differentiated being out there compared to, obviously being in the Chicago area, things like that. What did you discover? What did you discover about yourself being out east that made it different from, let's say, being in Chicago?
Well, the only thing I could say was the difference for me was just the fact that I was there by myself. Unlike Chicago, I did have a few relatives.
Well, no, that's important. I mean, if you lack a support structure like you were talking about, if you don't have any relatives, if you obviously when you move to a new place like that, you have to find new friends. There's a different way of looking at the world. I would think that one would tend to feel more vulnerable in their life, and how they consider things around them, when you're out by yourself.
Depends on your age.
Well, there's that too. I mean, there's
a lot of time I was thinking I was in like the early 30s, late 20s, early 30s. Thus, I still, only when you get older you really realize that you're not you're not infinite, but you're finite. You go, something might happen. But then it was just, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm doing what I need to do. Let's go. Let's get it done. That's just been my mentality. I did always more focus less on mainstream and more on how to make it look black. One of the major forces that did influence and validate what I was doing also was Machindo. And I just happened to run into Machindo because I was walking down, what's the street? Flatbush, yes. Walking down Flatbush one rainy day, and I don't know, I saw something that drew me up to his studio he had there over a store. And I don't know what it was. I forgot what it was. I really can't remember. And I went and saw his work, saw what he was doing. This is when he first was starting to do his thing and doing his more realistic and his future. You call it now maybe future punk or future science fiction. He was just beginning to start to get in there, but it was always, as you see it always is now, always Afrocentric, okay, always. It's from the country, and I was like, oh yes, I'm down with this, yes. He's one of the major ones that basically when I came to New York, yes, that I really was very influenced. I wasn't influenced by anybody in the galleries because at the time I wasn't trying to go to a gallery, nor could I afford to. That's funny. And plus what I was doing when I was there in New York was more increase of the hustling that I was doing when I was in Chicago. In fact, that's when I got involved in a lot of dealing with hair care products and hairdressers who wanted business cards, who wanted me to do brochures for their beauty shops. It was a lot of stuff. I was working between Harlem and Brooklyn having clients and didn't have a car, so that was a funny thing too. But on subways and walking, hustling art and graphics without a computer.
But it sounds like you at least found a niche, and were you making enough to live off of that? Was that pulling in enough for you?
I had a job. I had a job as a cameraman for a printer, for offset printer.
Okay. All right.
And I did that until I did start to. Yes, I was till I did start to make a living doing it. I think that was only for a year because I think I was out a year that I just quit the offset printer, and then was working doing freelance books, book covers for Africa World Press and Red Sea Press, and then they liked my work so much that they hired me as an art director full time. So
nice.
So that was all that. And that was a bit of a chore in driving and taking the train to Jersey. That's always.
So while you had a job like that, which I would imagine probably took up a fair amount of your time and certainly a fair amount of your attention, were you still able to work on your own creative endeavors?
Yeah, I did work on some creative. Yeah, yes, I did. More so, not necessarily in the way that you would think, in the sense of putting out books and publishing. I seemingly found jobs that the endeavors that I was creating and doing were more so in line with things I wanted to do. Example is I found a person that wanted to do some notebooks, which I'm going to try to reissue sometime this year, and if not next year, through my company. They had African heroes, and they were trying to redo a composition book. And in doing the composition book, each pages had a different African hero printed on it in a very light shade, which I did the illustrations for. They had a cover which basically it was just a notebook, and then it's like a composition book, like the black and white,
sure,
with echoes. Right. Yes. Just the difference is the cover had all kind of Africas on it and all like that. And it was good. I was lucky to put it out myself in this day and age, because a lot of things are going digital, and I'm just wondering if it's just a waste of time, a waste of paper, because that's another issue. I'm pretty much I don't. Whoa!
It's not a waste of time, and the reason. Let me tell you why. Think about all of the kids who can't compose digitally. What are they doing?
Well, I understand.
They're grabbing a pencil. They're grabbing a pen. They're grabbing markers. I think that being able to share your art with kids at a very, very formative age like that would be great, man. Stop and think about that. What you're doing is you're sharing.
I have thought about that.
I think that's a pretty cool thing.
It's cool, but I'm also thinking about, we do need to save trees. We need to be kind. That's another thing I have issues with my community. But it's just a matter. It's just more so situation of poor people versus just my community. Poor people ain't got time to deal with no environmentally safe stuff. They really don't, and they don't too much expect unless my my stomach is filled with food enough so that I can worry about such things. I'm gonna throw stuff on the ground. I'm not gonna worry about a tree or how many trees got cut down, things like that. So that part and that type of mentality is prevalent, and there's nothing I can really do about it except on my end is try to find alternate ways of seeing if in my ways was trying to get pushing folks toward the digital. But sure. I do understand your point, because there are a lot of places on this planet that still ain't into digital and not going to be anytime soon. And I can still work things like that too. So I do understand your point. And this is the reason why I'm still up in the air and dealing with trying to put that out soon, one of the notebooks.
Well, and you really won't know until you do it and you see what kind of response you get. If people are picking it up, or if you manage to pick up a school system or something like that, and they say, well, we would love to have these for our second, third, and fourth graders, then that's a hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then it depends on the school, because that's, it's a lot of politics now with dealing with schools and dealing with trying to supply schools and all that.
Sure.
And you're always on the sense of you're trying to create some business, hustle up some work, but you don't want to get caught up in political lines of fire and getting discounted, getting your stuff. You do all the stuff, and then you here trying to hire. You burning up your money trying to hire lawyers to get your money back. All that all that kind of craziness, So these are the things that I'm always looking at the same time, trying not to mention making sure you're not violating anybody else's copyright or things like that.
Or wasting your own money. I mean, that's
there
a
you
huge
go.
one too.
That is a huge one, because I've done a lot of my stuff with my own money, and just like now I haven't with ABYSSINIA Comics. I prepared materials to create a Kickstarter, but I'm very reluctant in doing it until I have a lot of things in place so that the Kickstarter does the job instead of just me using it as
well, yeah, you want to maximize your the possibility for success. And the way you're going about it is a good way, because a lot of people think, well, let me just start a Kickstarter so I can do a comic book, or let me start a Kickstarter so I can do this or I can do that, not realizing that there's a whole business infrastructure behind taking on a task like that. And a lot of people don't know. Part of it is inexperience, part of it is willful ignorance, but I mean, it doesn't sound like you're going that route. It sounds like you think things out. So when you were out east, how long were you out there before you headed back, you headed to where you are now, or were there stops in between?
I was there. Only stops in between was going to D.C. and Boston, and those weren't. D.C. was more so just like a 1 week thing where I was looking for a job, and at the time too, I luckily I was with my the capoeira troupe that I had belonged to, and was out there building and stuff with them and doing, as well as doing artwork with them or for them, as well as when Boston was just a conference that I went to, but my time was mostly the most time was in New York, second most was in Jersey with the book publishing company, and then the last was in Philadelphia, where I spent at least 2 years, if not a year and a half. Half a year, I think I was commuting there because I had a job in Camden or East Philly, whichever you call it. And I was dealing with summer job, which I was the art teacher for a few summer daycare centers, so to speak. And then I came and moved to Philly when I think I had also was there doing a little work with October Gallery. It wasn't that much, and when all I was doing was supposedly trying to look at help with their computers, which I didn't do that much with it because it was this little limited knowledge I had of computers where all I would do is help make sure they kept running and make sure they were available for classes for children. And all I was doing that, and see, since all these places were very frugal with their money, they weren't spending any money for equipment. And what little they could pay me, that was not the top notch. So it was interesting. October was a good place. With October Gallery were good people anyway. That's pretty much what was going on and where I was. I stayed there till about 99. 99, I had to go back to Oakland and take care of some other family stuff, which meant I had to stay there and manage a home like that. And then that's when I started looking into animation. Really wasn't more so animation, more motion graphics and seeing where multimedia was going to be replacing, especially like billboards. We see it constantly now, even though here in LA there's a lot of backlash where the billboards cause too much angst with people trying to sleep and distractions from folks is driving and all that. But back then it was a thing that was
exciting. It was an exciting new thing because right around in that time in the 90s, I was developing multimedia programs for PCs. One was like a stop smoking campaign, where a stop smoking kind of like program that worked on on computer. And what everybody was excited about was being able to finally merge, digital graphics, a little bit of video and things like that. And, you were finally able to be able to do that on a reasonably priced computer. So, I mean, I can imagine why there was the excitement, but then, now you look at what we have now, and it's like generations, better. It's just generations better. Yeah, and so, a lot of the things that we take for granted today were really cutting-edge technologies in the early 90s, mid-90s, So, now, when you finally got back to California, about how old were you when you got there?
Let's see, I was about 42, somewhere in there.
You've got, 43. At 42, generally speaking, you've got a good knowledge of who you are, and most people are able to tap into what's important for them by that time of life. And so when you get out there and you've got some of these new emerging technologies and things going on, what were the things that were motivating you and the most exciting to you personally when you got out there that kind of pushed your art forward?
Well, what was motivating me at the time, as far as electronics was concerned, that was when the I forget what you call that little session where everybody had a web company and it busted and it was a boom.
Oh,
and a
yeah.
bust.
Well, there was that huge 1992 kind of internet bust. First of all, everybody thought every business model they thought of was going to become digital. I think the stupidest one was I don't think they were called PetSmart, but maybe Pets.com, where they're going to sell you a 50-pound bag of dog food through the internet, and people didn't realize that the shipping charges alone made that dog food like a third more costly than just getting off their ass and going to the store and getting it.
Yeah.
So there was kind of a tech bubble that burst there because there was the silliness of 91 and 92 where everybody thought, oh yeah, the internet's going to be the cure for everything and everything's going to be so exciting.
Yeah, 91, 92 is when I was in Jersey, and then when and it was a trip because that's when you can get on AOL, and it was two people on all night. Two people on the chat line all night,
Or worse yet, Prodigy, getting on Prodigy.
Oh,
with your modem,
Yes, all that. Yeah, it was a trip, and then but see, when I got to San Francisco, then that's when the beginning of that tech boom, where they were everything, and it really didn't motivate me because I was trying to get into it, but you see, I pray daily so that all truths get revealed to me. Okay, so what I was trying to see is what and how a person was supposed to make money doing this. And I could not really grasp on a way that folks could really make money, real money. Okay, I'm not talking about high school money. I'm talking about adult money where you paying car bills and house notes and
a square job. Yeah,
trips to other places to do business. And that's what I base my common sense on. If how this can facilitate those kind of actions instead of just making a few little quarters every hit. All right, and that's I couldn't see it. Okay, and though at the time when I was there, I was working again, wasn't working freelance. I was working for working with the development of the disabled, and I was there and working, teaching. Though I had a crew of charges, my job was to help teach them art. So. With that, to get them involved in all little art projects to help them out, and roll that way. So, and going to that job every day, and then trying to see how that works, and then all of a sudden it began to bust. The bubbles began to bust, and that's when and things were. It's a trip because things were already, I considered, astronomical, San Francisco, and then that just helped it along, and then that's when the economy kind of fell, and it's just a trip. I call San Francisco future world anyway. So,
well, you were where were you living? You're in Oakland now, the Oakland area now?
I was living in Oakland then.
Yeah,
now
know,
I live in
by
LA.
the way, 1 out of 6 Hayashis that you meet in that area is related to me. That's where the whole Japanese half of my family is. I'm just letting you know. So just tell them you know William in Chicago. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and the Bay Area is expensive. You know, San Francisco is very high. Obviously, Oakland, Alameda, San Mateo. You know,
it only got that way in the 90s. You only got that way during the 90s. Wasn't like that before. When I left, it wasn't like that. I mean, San Francisco always was, but compared to New York, no, it wasn't like that. But you know, and the Bay Area wasn't like that. I mean, first of all, this just was a nice. It was one thing about the Bay Area. After I left and came back, I saw the Bay Area was just a nice place to chill, especially if you wanted to raise a family. You know, it was good, nice area, nice cleaner than down here where I live in L.A. And and the other thing that I always liked and always appreciated, even before I left and came back, was that you could look up at your horizons, the mountains, the hills, and they are green, and that's which is what I like about the Seattle area. Seattle area is beautiful. It's just not enough sun.
Right.
So that's it's a good thing all the way around. I'm just now stuck in L.A.
Okay, so now that you're in L.A., let's talk a little bit about, well, first let's talk about what is it that you're doing now? Do you primarily consider yourself artist, illustrator? I mean, how do you characterize yourself when you talk about yourself to other people?
Well, really, this is the first time I'm really talking about myself to other people.
You're doing a very good job of it.
I'm more so just trying to just develop a comic media company. The reason I'm down here in LA is because I found a school that worked with me that taught me the skills that I wish to know and are utilizing it as you see online and as I'm trying to push forward with my company, ABYSSINIA Media Group. I started ABYSSINIA Media Group when I was in Jersey in 91, but at that time it was called ABYSSINIA Comic Group, and was trying to come out with ALA during that time when I remember printers were giving credit for people to print the books and do all that, which I was going to do that and was trying to, but then that's when again that bubble burst. It burst because a lot of the individuals were not responsible, and thus leaving, getting stuff printed and then leaving the printer holding the bag, and thus causing folks to not really want to extend credit or do things like that. which on one level, I was somewhat happy with that it happened because I didn't really want to do my stuff with Credit Inc. I wanted to have the money to give me before that's just me, so that I can safely, everything I have is mine. There's no IRS, there's no all that other craziness going on. But, it was easier back then to self-publish then with paper, of course, than it is now. Now it's a little bit easier in the sense of getting it to the publisher the way you want. That's the whole difference now. Now, before, true enough, you would give it to a printer, and if you're blessed, it would come out just the way you want. But more than likely, it would come out whatever they wanted to put out. Whatever they would, however good, if you had a good printer, you would get it the way you want. If you had a printer that was trying to make some bucks, it just whatever. And so now I'm able to here in LA, I like the area where now I'm able to direct the future, control what I want, the content, able to publish it is easier. You can do it online. I like the fact that, even with printing T-shirts, I'm trying to get my T-shirt line going to help build capital, because I see that, to me, that's basically one of the main ways of getting things pushed and financed. And in fact, that was another thing about the school, because I went to school out here at the Art Institute, which that's a controversy in itself. My old school, it was good. I liked my teachers and all that. It's just that they did a lot of people wrong. Their financial aid people did a lot of people wrong. It's fun, unfortunate.
Well, is the Art Institute out there a for-profit school?
Oh yes, all of them are for-profits.
Well, yes and no. But I'm talking about these. It's like going to DeVry if you're into computers. They're basically there to take your money and.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well,
and that's basically what that means. If you do it, I'm not knocking the for-profit school, because if you're an individual, which I'd say like myself, or like I know a person that went to DeVry, like he knew what to do. All he needed, and just like me, all I needed was direction, showing what were the processes, what's the terminology to use, how to do business. Fine, it's not a problem. It's good. You're getting your money's worth. Okay, you're not a problem. But if you're like a lot of children who I went to school with, and I went to school in my 40s, and as I said, I'm seeing children. A lot of the children didn't know what the heck they were. They just know that I want to do art. Okay, so and thus. Then I think about, back in the day with my parents, and did I sound this way, which is the reason why they said this stuff to me. So, because at that point I'm like, you need to really think about what you are doing. I try to catch myself saying the same things my parents were saying to me about me wanting to do art. All right, and I have, because what I do now, instead of saying those kind of things, I tell them what to be aware of and what not to. Because I have a few individuals that I know they want to go to art school. They're just graduating from high school. They're trying to find colleges to go there. I try to direct them to certain colleges which work and which will be beneficial in helping them. And just offer my services, especially when they're starting to build their portfolios, because they want to. I know their parents want them to find a job. So something that will be feasible, that will work, and what people will be looking for. That's all I do now with individuals. But
so wait. So you're mentoring other people. Are you doing this kind of in a formal setting, or is this
no,
kind of like
formal.
community outreach that outreach that you're doing?
Yeah, that's just community. It's more so just like with relatives. Okay, like you see your nephew or your niece going into wanting to be an artist or doing something. I just make sure that I do mentor them so they go the right way and they're not like me. Because see me, as I said, I put myself out there, and whatever works, I leave it. I pray to God, and He just direct me to the right way. And like I say, I just pray that all truths get revealed to me so I can make the correct decisions. Now,
let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, because as far as anybody mentoring me, no. Okay, it wasn't until really I became about in the 40s and decided to go to school that it was a number of black people that were visible and working within the field and been working, pretty much for a while that could really do mentoring or whatever. Because most like I say, most black people either if anything, the most popular financial career was pushing some drugs. Not all. I'm not saying that all of it was like that. It's just,
Man, oh man, you are tarring a whole people with a bad brush.
Well, I knew I was going to say that when I got on an interview. So folks
you could have
talk about me like a dog.
You could have said it like this. You could have said most of the black people that I knew back then were very entrepreneurial.
Okay. Well, I'll take it back and I'll put what you said and replace my words.
No, too late now, man. Okay, so at this time when you're basically setting up yourself to do the comics, and give us. Well, hang on. Let me just do this real quick. You're listening to the Genesis Science Fiction Radio Show, a service of the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website. This is the February 20th, 2015 edition, and our special guest is Carles Cj Juzang. And let me ask you about the storylines when you decided that you were going to put together your comics. What genre, what kind of characters, what kind of plot lines, what were the stories that kind of sparked your own imagination?
Okay, the two things that I'm doing, one is the Adigun Ogusanwo. It is more science fiction based on science and technology. It's in the future. It's based in the future. It's an alternate Earth future where World War III taking place in 96, I believe. Either 91 or 96. Whenever what's his name invaded it? I think it was Afghanistan or whatever.
Oh, 2001?
No, not 2001. It was 90.
Oh, you mean Bush the senior?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So it's earlier than that. Yeah.
Yes, much earlier. So that's what happened, and then in this reality, all the continents of all the countries in Africa decided to unify and become one, as well as the fact that they as well as a number of southern hemispheric countries were getting inundated with populations because World War III broke out and we getting out of here. So and in this particular instance, the unified country of Africa created a really army called AFRICA, and they fortified their borders, and thus became, inside, just did not allow anyone that wasn't really born there or really raised there a number of years to really didn't nobody want to leave, but they weren't allowing anybody entrance into it, and it became somewhat of a closed continent on that level. And in that idea, they survived. They kind of prospered and became almost technologically advanced within their own right, while the rest of the world, at least in the northern hemisphere and war zones, were going through it. And that's the basic environment that I had created for that. if anybody really see and understand, I'm just basing it off of the thought and the ideals of a lot of black nationalists, where they were saying having, and a lot of the Dread population, where having a unified Africa and continental states within the continent, and them working together and doing that. And I'm simplifying because I have a really complicated sections of that society where it's divided into almost 5 parts. The military is one of them, and there's other parts which are which I'm going into. I'm kind of revealing a little bit by bit with the comic strip, where there's a lot of infighting going on, political infighting basically, and they're using science and technology to wage the war. And basically, I got that idea from doing it, surprisingly enough, other than what I just told you, also from the television show, what was it, Fringe? The old Fringe. I really liked and admired the fact that this was a society, a time when science was going off the hook and off the chain, going on and not really being monitored or really being looked at. Okay, especially with your society now, where half the people just really don't hardly give a flick about too much other than their own behinds. So that was good, and the fact that if you notice the little storyline they had, the folks from the other side, which was supposed to be evil, seemed to be was more advanced technology-wise. Didn't nobody use a pen anymore since, 76? They said. I was tripping off that part. and overall, I saw them as really their universe was the good folks, and our universe was the ones that was all wired and messed up, which was funny as heck. But anyway, that's just one storyline. Now, LA, as I had said, I had created that when I did that sword and sorcery character models for these white folks that wanted to do a sword and sorcery comic, and they wanted some new, something new, something different. And when they decided that no, what they meant new and different was as long as it was white. If it wasn't white, no, we wasn't down. We ain't down with that. So I just decided to take that. And when I worked for Africa World Press, I did a lot of reading, which I should have asked, since it was a book publishing company. And one of the books, which I unfortunately forgot to bring and reveal, but I somehow will probably do so on my site when I'll expand it. It talked about a cosmology, a South African, South African, because it's a Zulu. It's more the Zulu cosmology. And the basic was earth and air or God, okay, and the interactions of nature in between. And in doing that, that's when I started to basing that particular cosmology on LA. And in doing that too, I created kind of 3 different tribes which have nothing to do with any tribe in Africa, because I wanted to be able to go off and do things with them and not get corralled and talked about, well, you didn't do so-and-so's tribe the right way and all this. Fine, okay, because I figure I'm going to get it anyway. But I said I just created, and which is what you see. One is the main character, LA. He's from a tribe that basically they're land of the great trees, which is they live, and there's giant. Not that Balboa trees are not big enough, but the trees in this land are much bigger. Okay, almost to the point that like Jack of the Beanstalk big. Then you have the really a tribe of really priest. They're religious, priestly individuals which have a power, and they thrive on being very closed among themselves and keeping their religion, building their religion strong, and becoming a really major force. Which they're not really bad. They're just really just a kind of to themselves a lot, but just very powerful. And then the third was the actual antagonist in the series, which is Mgazaganga, and he basically, the idea is that he now lives in a dead city which he made that way because of his selfish need to gain power, and thus thus everybody he's kind of manipulated in doing that, and that's the basis for the LA pretty much. I'm still working on it, still drawing, and what I'm doing with the comic strip is really taking it years ahead of the storyline that I'm doing with the comic book that I'm putting out. Which I got the first issue done. It's just a matter of publishing it and as well as other things. But that's about it.
And so you were drawn to African-based mythos because of Black culture, or because it does resonate with you and gives you, the kinds of plot support to really put together a good story and move it along. What you said,
the latter is more true. The former is Black culture is just that's always been me. That's where I live. Okay, I live in Black culture, so nothing I can do. More so, I was looking. Reason I chose that is because nobody else seems to be doing it. At least not on the comic book level. They're doing it on maybe young adult book level or on a book level, but not in that. Well, no exception. Machindo. Machindo always. Me and him, we go through all kinds of discussions because we seem to be on that same plane and level of thinking and how visually it looks and what goes. But nobody seems to want to attempt to try to do it. Either it's because it's too much work, or they're not familiar, and they ain't trying to go and dig through no books and figure out what is the cosmology of the Zulu tribe or another tribe in Africa to base a comic book. There's not really too many people wanting to do that. What I saw more so is they would rather do a black version of Street Fighter, or a black version of True Blood, or a black version of you get my drift. What I mean?
Well, the reason why they do that is because people. There's two reasons I take it. One is maybe a person lacks their own singular imagination to put together something truly imaginative and unique. And the other could just be a matter of, kind of like the Hollywood studio marketing. I
know.
Where they see what's popular and they go, well, let me just do what's popular, but I'll do it in a Southern accent. Okay, yeah. I know I was picking on Larry the Cable Guy, but still, so there's, that's one of the reasons that drives my curiosity is, okay, you've decided to write these kinds of stories, and you've included this kind of mythos, and you're executing it this X way of doing it. Tell me, and what I want to ask them is, what's the basis for your having chosen that genre? You know what I mean? Is it because of, and I mean, for you obviously told me, well, you're black, and there's a resonance to African-based mythos, and that's pretty obvious. But then when you look at people who, you still have to look at them. Let's say someone's doing, they're doing a zombie universe, you know, and so you say to yourself, okay, we've got some pretty creative or some pretty successful zombie universe things out there. You know, obviously The Walking Dead, you know, World War Z at least made a little bit of money, you know, things like that. So when somebody chooses, you know, well, I want to have left-handed African zombies, you have to kind of be a little suspicious about, well, why did you choose that? Because you know what? Zombies are not a big deal in the African mythos.
No, it isn't a big. It's just, you know.
Go ahead.
To me, you know, when it comes to things like the undead,
right?
It isn't that I'm not aware of the.
Oh, no! Don't get me wrong. I wasn't questioning you. What I was saying was when someone. Yeah. Okay. All right.
It's just that I look at things like we have too much. I'm looking at our history with where everything that would be considered negative is my face is the first thing. Somebody who got my face that looks like my face, got my color is the first thing that comes to the camera comes in view. Okay.
Right.
It's to the point that my young people, youngsters, when it's something bad, the first thing they think of is something or dream of is something black. Okay. I'm not trying to go there and participate and continue that kind of thinking and drama. I feel that personally the reason why is because, as we already know, folks been so brainwashed in this country with television, with media and all that it, you know, irregardless of how you telling them that they should do something different or do something new, the first thing is the thing they'll do something they copied because they saw it, read it in about Dracula or whatever, okay? You know, and I'm trying to figure out, example, why hasn't anyone kind of tried to do a version of any of Octavia Butler's creatures and characters? All right. That, when I read all her stuff, especially when I read the one that I love, which was really not really considered science fiction. I looked at it as an essay on what would black people do if they got thrown back into the old South. This is I forgot the name of it. Man, but it was the book. I'm sure the audience would know and can tell you. But it was a book that basically it was dealing with time travel, and the protagonist, she was a black girl that was married to a white boy, and for some reason she got brought back in time to deal with her ancestor, which was a white Southern slave owner, and save his life. So hers can move on. And it was good. I liked it. I liked that the best out of all of her. You know, a lot of her stuff was good. Where her and her husband goes with her, at least gets a chance to go with her to see she wasn't crazy. And then he gets stuck back there for 20 years. And then when she finally hooks back up with him, which he's looking 20 years older, he's how he has developed and created his life for himself in that day and time, being trapped there. And, things like that. I don't see why that is not considered fun or positive or something to do. As far as science fiction, you don't have to mimic what she's doing. In fact, I would have took it a little bit further back, like which I want to do eventually, because I want to get into the genre of the steampunk or steampunk, but I want to do it in the sense of it's still, I try to keep my stuff continent based. Because I feel as though everybody else is doing everything on the American trip. I don't see
well,
all
I mean,
that. You know.
there's a value proposition to doing black themed work, and that value proposition is it's a cold-hearted financial calculation. Okay, so until the wealthier blacks want to support the arts to that extent, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. All right, you know, there is no money in Hollywood for a positive depiction of black folks in this country, and I think, you know, the snub that Selma went through is probably pretty good proof of that. I think the fact that George Lucas had to self-fund Red Tails is proof of that. I think that unless you can show black folks as 12 years being a slave or some nonsense like that, there's a cold-hearted calculation that a certain segment of our population doesn't want to see it. I mean, you got Oklahoma wanting to take slavery out of the history books because it makes America look bad. You know, when you've got okay, half of the people in the United States of America are retarded. Now, I'm going to probably get a letter or two from that, which is good because Jarvis has to answer that crap, not me. But the fact of the matter is you have a whole body of conservative whites in America who have very little tolerance for anything but the very narrow Leave It to Beaver-esque kind of lifestyle that they want to see this country embrace. And in that lifestyle, we don't exist. Okay? In that lifestyle, we are nothing but thugs and pimps, prostitutes, whatever they believe. So it's tough, you know, for you to want to see Octavia Butler on the big screen and done well. Well, let's take Kindred, the one you're talking about. That's probably $150 million movie. Okay,
True.
maybe you could do it for $80 million, but who can get $80 million? About the only person who could self-fund that would be Tyler Perry, and unless he could play, you know, the lead woman in it, I don't think he's going to do it. Yeah, I said it. Somebody had to say it. And Spike Lee can't get $100 million to do a movie. Nobody will ever give Spike Lee $100 million. Okay, so we're stuck. We're stuck culturally because we don't support our own. You know, Spike Lee was so proud of the fact that he went and I forget for which movie. You know, he went and he got a check from, you know, Michael Jordan. He got a check here and he got a check there and a check. But by and large, we don't see the philanthropic business model where wealthier blacks, well-off blacks who have made money off of all kinds of, you know, middle class and working class blacks, we don't see them supporting the culture in a way that is uplifting or a way that is that goes across the current American narrative about what they believe about black folks.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, man. I would love to see more of that. And you know, of course, I've got a little bit of self-interest, you know, enlightened self-interest in that. I'd love to see the Dark Side trilogy done as movies. You know, a lot of people would love to see that. But you know, to do one of those movies is, you know, between $100 and $150 million. I am never going to have people go, say, Mr. Japanegro, I got a pocket full of cash for you to do your books. It's just not going to happen because it doesn't
now,
fit.
You're limiting yourself. You don't know that.
No. Here's the deal. It doesn't fit the... Okay, so, let's think about this from a realistic perspective. To have a movie series with the scope of Star Wars where African Americans are the heroes, they're the protagonists, they have technologies, abilities, and a morality that is better than what current American culture is. I don't think that's tolerable to our country. Okay.
Well, yeah, that's true. That is country, but see, that's the whole thing. That's the whole reason why I'm pushing my little reboot comic stuff. I'm not necessarily marketing for folks in this country. I feel that what we as Black Americans seem to have our own thing going on, and I'm not really. It isn't that I don't care. It's just that I feel that if I'm going to do anything successful, I need to look outside the box. Okay, outside the American box.
I think you might be largely right, but then again, remember, we still have to find the money to do these things. And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles.
Yeah. Yes, I do. I understand, but I think there is money there. It's just that like most of us, we need to go. I have to go search for it. I really gonna have to search for it. Okay, it's not.
I get you, and
not gonna be right here. Even though I'm in a city, living in a city where it's probably up the street and around the corner. they ain't gonna give it to me. Okay, so I'm not really stressing that. Okay, so Now, I may have to cut this short because I think I'm going to have to start on the other part of my recreation.
Sounds like you just got in the car.
No, I got out the car.
Oh, you got out the car. Okay. No, that's fine, man. I'm really happy that you had the time to share, especially after us having kind of a little misfire last week.
Yeah.
But the usual things apply. The things that you're doing, keep people at BSFS informed of what you're doing. Make sure that you have. Well, I mean, you're in chat all the time. You're talking to people all the time, so it's not like you're a stranger. But definitely, when you get to the point where you're putting these projects together, get as many people involved as possible, because you know what, we are a pretty good self-supporting community.
Okay.
And I want to thank you for being here for as long as you were. And we're going to put me to the test. We'll see if I can talk for about a half an hour, which I might be able to do. I'm pretty sure. But seriously, thank you very much, Carles. I appreciate you being here, and we'll catch up again. And thanks for taking time out of your evening to share with us.
Well, I thank you for allowing me to take up your evening, because I'm surprised. I didn't know I was that worthy. But
man, well, don't worry about it. I mean, I got this ankle bracelet, so I'm here all the time. But thanks, man, and we'll catch up with you next time. Okay?
All right. See you later, man.
Be
all
safe.
Right. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Oh, so you don't think I can talk by myself, Jarvis?
Oh, I have no doubt whatsoever.
Well, there are a few things that I do want to talk about. One is next week, Florida A&M is having its, I think it's its 7th annual Literature Fest.
FAMU.
And this year it's called Black to the Future. And there are some pretty heady talents who are going to be there. The two headliners are Tananarive Due, Black novelist, and someone who I interviewed on this very show, and Walter Mosley, who's mostly a Black noir detective novelist. And I've spoken to him a few times at Chicago State University here, because he does a lot of things out there, and does things with Hakeem Madhubuti. I think his real name is Hal Lee, but
Hey, but he has an awesome book, which is one of my favorite books in the world.
Which one?
Black Men, Obsolete, Single, and Dangerous. And I like that book because most books just have a problem or try to have a solution. It has the problems, reasons, and solutions. So it's a holistic approach to trying to repair the Black community.
And so those are the two headliners, Tananarive and Walter Mosley. And then the other people who are participating are Cerise Murphy, who I interviewed on this show, Penelope Penn, who has interviewed me on this show, Milton Davis, and Valjean Jeffers. Valjean, I don't think I did. I interview her?
Did.
Yeah, I did. I interviewed her.
She was on twice.
And I had Chinese food lunch with Milton here in Chicago when he was visiting Ronald T. Jones. So it's funny because every single person who are panelists or speakers, I have had direct conversation with. So I think that's kind of a cool thing. And
so
then
you're gonna
I'll
have
be
to
there.
get Mosley's ear and get him on here.
I will do what I can. He's not your big technological guy. He doesn't even have a Twitter account or anything like that. And I think he might be of an age, where he doesn't want to be bothered. But I'm definitely going to talk to him. He's got there's a reception for him and a book signing on Friday. The event starts on Wednesday. Here, let me pull up my itinerary because I want to tell people about this. These people have been very good to me. They're flying me down. They're putting me up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, talent gets recognized.
I want to be like you when I grow up.
I hope you're better looking, though. I do have the face for radio. So anyway, next Wednesday, Tananarive is doing her talk. She's also going to be screening the trailer for the movie that she and her husband, Stephen Barnes, are trying to get together and do, which is called Danger Word. If you want to check out the trailer, go ahead and take a look at
it's on the site. Look at the videos.
Yeah, just do. Yeah, and then
of course
videos.
And
then Friday is Walter Mosley's day, and he's got. Let's see what do we got here. His lecture is like 6 p.m. on Friday, so I'm not going to be doing this show next Friday. And then there's a reception and book signing for him. I'm sorry?
I said you're going to dump us for Walter?
Yeah, sorry about that, man.
Oh, damn.
And somebody in the chat room mentioned Devil in a Blue Dress. It was awesome. That's also by him. So Tananarive is she's in noon on Wednesday, and at 2 o'clock she looks like she's got a book signing. So I'm thinking she's probably coming in and out, coming into the thing and out and leaving probably in the same day. Kind of looks like that. And then Thursday, let's see, they've got it starts at 11. This is good because it lets you sleep in. You could have a late breakfast. At 11, they've got scholarly presentations from people. Well, let's see, we've got Alexander Brickler from Florida State, Pamela Kaiser from Florida A&M, and Constance Bailey from the University of Southern Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 12:30, they've got me. And then at 2 o'clock, there's Cerise Murphy, who, I already mentioned that I interviewed her. And then we've got a writers panel. Huh?
Who is taping all this greatness?
I'm not sure. That's what I'm going to find out when I get there. I've got a digital recorder, which I'm going to ask them to hook in. It's in this big ass hall in Lee Hall Auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure I'll be mic'd up. Everybody will be mic'd up, and if they are, I'm going to see if I could plug into the board and record all of these sessions, and maybe we can put them on the BSFS channel someplace.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, Thursday there's a Black Speculative Fiction Writers panel. And so in that panel, Milton Davis, Penelope Flynn, myself, and Valjean Jeffers, and Cerise Murphy. So all of us, but the headliners, will be there on Thursday, and that's moderated by FAMU Professor Alexander Williams. I'm not going to get real technical with them. I'm not going to make anybody, address me as
uncomfortable.
Mr. Dr. Professor William Hayashi, But,
don't forget Reverend.
Yeah, Reverend. Yeah, that's right.
Reverend
and then
Doctor.
Friday, Reverend Dr. William, So Friday at 10 o'clock, 10:10, we have Penelope Flynn. At 11:15, Milton Davis. At 12:20, Valjean Jeffers. And then 1:30, we're having a Meet the Authors book signing. And I guess all of us are signing our books there. And that'll be at Meek Eaton Southeastern Black Archives. That's FAMU's. And then 6 o'clock is the big thing for Walter Mosley. He's lecturing at 6. And then at 8, we have a reception and book signing, I guess, for him. So it's kind of a big damn deal for me.
That's awesome.
This is, and You know,
it's a big day out.
Yeah, it is, and I prepared my lecture. I got an hour-and-a-half lecture. So I've got a bunch of things that I want to cover. I will have them show the Chicago Job trailer that I did because I want them to also know that in addition to being an author, I am a screenwriter, and I'm very proud of our work. I can't take complete credit for it, but it's going to be a nice thing, a nice event. One of the things though that really sucks is this Arctic polar what have you, where it's only in the 40s down there.
Oh, it was zero this morning when I woke up to go to the restroom. It was like
in Tennessee, right?
Right. It was like 3 degrees, but it's at FAMU, so it's going to be probably about 15 degrees hotter than here.
Yeah, I've had their little weather. You know, when I go to the weather page, I've got St. Croix, which is where I want to get my next condo. I've got FAMU on there. And,
please. Hey, it's FAMU.
FAMU. Yeah. No, I was thinking of SeaWorld. Sorry. And then and then I have Chicago, and I'm really disappointed because it's no warmer than like the 40s in Florida. I mean, it's better. It's better than 0 here or 20 here. So
exactly. I just had to ride behind. I think I had a round trip of about 100 miles early today to pick Junior up, and it started snowing, and I had to go about 40 or 50 miles behind one of those snow trucks to make it home safely.
Oh, they were plowing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you're lucky because, you know, a lot of the southern states do not have, they don't have the equipment because, you know, like Atlanta. When Atlanta gets a half an inch of snow, they have to shut down the city because they don't have the equipment because they just don't get that much snow.
Right.
It's funny. Al said, set up a table, William. You should make a bundle. We're not allowed to do that, Al, because I already asked.
I was supposed to send some. I got to send some books down there. Because what they're going to do, they're going to make a mad dash for the bookstore the moment you guys finish talking.
That is true. Yeah, that is true. Apparently, they're using my first 2 books in the trilogy in a couple classes down there.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
That's kind of cool for me. This is exciting for me. This is the first time that I have been invited someplace as an author. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually going to behave myself. You to believe.
And I remember there was a point where you wavered a little bit, but you just got to stick it out, man.
Well, it's funny. I'll tell you guys a story. I was in the chat room at BSFS on a Wednesday, and I was genuinely ready to quit writing after this trilogy instead of finishing out all 7 books. And the reason why was, you know, a matter of simple economics. You know, some consulting work I did last year, which consisted of writing a business plan, an executive summary, and some other documentation for a new business. And I made an enormous amount of money doing that. I made over 10 times in 1 year doing the consulting writing than I have, more than 10 times than I have in selling all the books in the 2 books that I've got out. And so on that Wednesday, I was in chat saying, you know, hey, once this 3rd book comes out, I'm through. And people say, well, you know, what about the other books? And I said, screw the other books because it just financially this is ridiculous. You know, you take 6, 7, 8, 9 months out of your life to put together a book, and you don't get anything for it compared to sitting down and putting together the numbers and doing an executive summary. What's up with your phone, Jarvis?
I'm not sure. What's going on?
Oh, okay. So, and then what's funny is, okay, that's on a Wednesday. The very next day, I get contacted about being, like, in this Florida A&M event. So it was like somebody telling me, well, maybe you shouldn't quit right now. Maybe you should think about this and sit back and be a little more patient. So I'm going to be a little more patient. We'll see what happens. And it is funny, but not that I expected. I didn't write books to get rich because that rarely happens unless you catch fire. Unless you're like Harry Potter, or even if you write a really crappy book, like 50 Shades of Grey. Lightning can strike, and you never know what's going to happen. So
he's talking about that 50 Shades, and I don't even know what it's about.
It's about S&M, Jarvis. So it's not something you should read. Really, you shouldn't. Stay away from it. It's just bad. But it's a poorly written book, and they say that that the movie is even more vapid and just not worthy. So, but the author has made a ton of money. You just never know how lightning is going to strike you. So, anywho, so that's my big event next week. I will try to take pictures. I will try to record whatever I can record. I mean, if they're going to be doing video of it, then that's probably not something that should be too hard to get hold of and put up on. I'll at least put my stuff on my YouTube channel and share it with BSFS too.
Awesome.
Travel. Apparently, you can't get there from here. There's no direct flights from Chicago to Tallahassee. That was a disappointment. So I'll be spending some time in Atlanta.
So you probably have to go to Jackson. What is it, Jacksonville? I think that's probably the closest airport to Tallahassee.
Oh well, see, I got a layover in Atlanta. But it's nice. I mean, this is I'm being treated like a grown-up. And this is kind of nice instead of, some errant child. And apparently I'm being respected or honored for the work I've done. And that's very flattering. That's about all I can say about that.
It has to be. I know you're over there blushing.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been working out and stuff because, I want to present well, and like I said, I will mostly behave myself. But I will have a very provocative lecture. That hour and a half lecture is probably going to end up being pretty provocative. So I'm sort of looking forward to that because I haven't been in an academic setting for a few years. I mean, I'm an ad hoc professor at a bunch of different schools. Northeastern Illinois University and DePaul and University of Wisconsin and Cardinal Stritch and places like that. But this is the first time in probably about 7 or 8 years that I will be lecturing again.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I know you're going to have plenty to say.
I'm sorry?
I know you're going to have plenty to say. It's all bottled up.
It's an hour long. Actually, it's an hour and a half long, Al. So I do have killer jokes. I have great jokes. But I don't think it may not be the setting for that. It may. It depends on them. Once they show that trailer, we're going to talk about that for a little while. Mm-hmm. Obviously, some people are going to want me to talk about, my writing. What motivated me to do the writing. My lecture is actually called Society/Culture and Science Fiction. And basically we're going to talk about why people use science fiction to address the kinds of issues that we have in real life, because sometimes you need to put a wrapper around it or have it one step removed from reality so people can
they let their defenses
discuss it.
Mm-hmm.
Discuss it without getting nuts, well, it does happen. People have very strong feelings about a lot of things, and when you get right down to it, when you talk about one of the things I want to talk about is why we've had over 400 years of, killing black males, non-whites in this country with impunity. Why have we had that? Why is that something that has existed ever since they brought us over here? And I want to discuss that because I'm not happy with what goes on today. So I'm writing a book about that. We'll see. But then on the other hand, there's a saying by Isaac Asimov which actually kind of encompasses why I write. And, his quote was, individual science fiction stories may seem as trivial as ever to the blinder critics and philosophers of today, but the core of science fiction, its essence, has become crucial to our salvation if we are to be able to be saved at all. And by and large, I want to write things that are about big issues. I want to write things that talk about, how do we establish community? How do we make lives better for children? How do we get over the automatic victimization of women and, all kinds of things that somehow I just don't see us having much movement on. And I've been around for a long time. Things were looking great. Things were looking great in the 60s and in the 70s in terms of social justice for this country. Now, I will tell you something that has surprised me. Something that has surprised me quite a bit is the accelerated movement for marriage equality. I didn't think it would happen this quickly, but it's written right into our Constitution. And, when you think about how old our Constitution is, our founding fathers back then decided that everybody was entitled to the same measure of equality, of law, of participation in this country's dreams and things like that. And it's been social convention up until now that has prevented that from happening.
Well, in the United States, let's put it like that.
Well, that's true.
Because a lot of things that we're still dwelling on and dragging around, other countries have gotten it right. I think Canada has a lot of things right.
Yeah, but then you look at over in England, and like a brother was trying to get on the train there to go to a soccer match. They call it football, and a bunch of white guys who were fans of the visiting team, they wouldn't even let him on the train. So you got nonsense like that going on all the damn time. And you know what? Here's the thing about being non-white in America. If you are not white in America, it's for Latinos, blacks, Asians, what have you, you have an expectation. There's an expectation as you leave your house that you are going to get messed with in some way. Okay? You're prepared for it. You can't, something that a white person would lose their effing mind over, being talked to a certain way, being pulled over by the police because being frisked in New York, having a chokehold put on you, having someone roll up on your 12-year-old kid and in 25 seconds just shoot him dead. Whites would never, ever, ever tolerate that kind of behavior. They would never tolerate that kind of violence against them. And yet, and then when we leave the house, this is an expectation. I was talking to a friend of mine today. We had breakfast, and this is a partner of mine in a new venture. And I said, one of the things that I want to address in this lecture is, why is it that if I'm on the phone with you and you get pulled over on Lakeshore Drive by a white cop, why is it that there is a chance that he can kill you with impunity? And the first thing out of his mouth was, well, it's not impunity. And I said, oh, yeah, that's right. He'll have to do a lot of paperwork. And then he started laughing. But that's the reality that non-whites face in this country.
We're all too familiar with.
Yeah, Al was saying, don't come down south with those new ideas. Al, fortunately, I got a ticket that should be able to get my ass home safely. But you know, I think it's something that should be discussed, because when you talk about what I wrote, you know, in the Dark Side trilogy, you know, the people, you know, the black folks in my book decided, screw hanging around here and trying to make things better. We have no expectation of things being better, so we're leaving. And, you know, fortunately, a trick in physics allows them to do that. But, you know, it's not every black person. It's
so
just,
it's like
I'm sorry?
Equivalent to migration from north to south.
It is. It is. I worked at the Chicago Defender for a while, and at one time I was considering doing some coffee table books and taking articles from each of the 10 years, every decade, because they had their 100th anniversary. And one of the things that I wanted to do was take each decade and get articles from the Defender and put together a coffee table book that reflected the history of that decade. And because one of the things that the Chicago Defender was responsible for was it had a huge, huge, huge positive influence on the migration of blacks from south to north. And there were articles in the Defender specifically for them, how to dress when you come north, how to behave, how to find a job, you know, how to find a place to live, things like that, which facilitated, you know, people who had never considered or never had the opportunity to come north and be able to have a whole new life. And the other thing was, on the railroad, you had the Pullman. You know, you had the black employees on the train, and they would smuggle. Yeah, the porters. Yeah, that's what it was. The porters. They would smuggle.
Chicago Red and the Chicago Red and Detroit Red worked as porters. Pullman porters.
And so what
and Red Fox.
And so what they did was they would get, you know, huge bales of the Chicago Defender, and at specific railroad crossings, when they were heading south, either New Orleans or Florida or wherever they were going, they would throw bundles of the Defender off the train for black folks in the South to read, because there was no such thing as a black newspaper in the South. And in large part, blacks who could read were ostracized, beaten, or even lynched by whites for having the temerity. I believe the word was uppity that they used.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
But there was that whole underground intellectual railroad that was flowing information south to bring blacks north, and so that was something that I wanted to do. But then the newspaper got purchased by these crooks in Detroit, and the whole thing fell through. But we could have put together in probably 2 years 10 coffee table books, just kind of like the Time Life series books, where you have Time Life Science, Time Life Music, and all of that. We could have done the same thing with the Chicago Defender, and those would have been historically great books, because what they were using was the actual articles of the time. This wasn't like somebody writing their own thesis or something like that. So this is kind of interesting, going to Florida A&M. This would be my first trip to HBCU.
What?
Yep.
So you should really enjoy that. It's a different experience.
I am looking forward to it. So I will report back. I don't think, there's no way I can do a show, because I really want to go to that reception. I want to talk to as many people as possible. And I'm talking about the students. The students who are using my books. I want to try to have a few hours with those kids too, because I want to see what they think. because they're the ones who are going to be replacing us. They're coming up.
What would be really good? What would be really good if you're speaking on Wednesday, right?
No, Thursday. I think I'm. Yeah, because Tanana Reeve is on Wednesday. I'm on Thursday.
Because we could possibly upload your portion if it's a digital recorder and play that on Friday.
Oh, wow! I would be honored.
Oh, most definitely. But I want to hear this.
But keep an eye on CNN later on in the afternoon on Thursday, just in case something does go wrong. Maybe it'll hit the news.
Uh-oh.
Oh, when people find out my idea is to stop cops from killing black folks.
Oh, so you're going to reveal it there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, it's going to be a classroom exercise.
Okay, that should be really, really interesting. Yeah, we got to get that out.
Yeah, it will. And I'm going to be very honest with them. I'll tell them, look, if you guys come up with something that I haven't thought of, I will tell you now. I will shamelessly put it in the book. I will give you credit. But, I thought I was going to take this year off and not do any writing, but I just got so mad at the things that went on last year and keep going on that I came up with a book idea that's probably going to get me killed.
Okay, just make sure to put me in your put Black Science Fiction Society in your will.
Okay. But I'd be less than intellectually honest if I didn't at least say it. And in some ways, I get a pass. I get a pass where a lot of people don't get a pass. And I get a pass for 3 reasons. The first reason is because I can speak the way I speak. All right? Somebody's son said, hey, he sounds white. I'm not mentioning whose son. And so when people hear me speak like this, that either confuses them or they form a different impression. I'm not as dark as certain people, and I have a Japanese last name, so it's kind of confusing to people. It kind of defies my entire persona, defies stereotyping.
Yeah, we will hold it against.
Yeah, but make no mistake, I got my issues. I got Japanese parts of my family, not the ones on the West Coast, but the ones who were near Nagasaki when that bomb went off. And then, my grandfather got chased out of Oklahoma because he was a better cattleman than the white cattleman, and they threatened to lynch him. So I come from a long line of scoundrels, man. I really do, and I'm proud. I'm proud of that. What else? Okay, so you want me to try to get the recordings, as many recordings as I can.
Yeah, but most definitely yours, because that's going to be entertaining.
All right, I'm bringing some flash drives. If I have to buy you know what? That's a good idea. I'm going to bring a removable drive. So if it's a bigger file, I'll see what they can do. If they'll record that, that'll be great. Anything else we should cover? What do you got coming up?
Man,
no. Tell us about your 3D printer adventures.
Okay. I guess it was about a month ago. I had access to, and still do, I had access to MakerBot 3D printer. So, of course, me thinking, always keeping Black Science Fiction Society and our stuff in mind, I didn't just download some random object. I uploaded one of our characters from the Earth Squadron film and printed a 3D likeness out. And I was really excited about that. And so much so, I dug some money out of my own savings and bought my own, the company is called XYZ. I bought a DaVinci XYZ 3D printer. And so I've just been going crazy in here printing little stuff out, man, and trying to learn the software so that each of the figures comes out well each time. And it's easy, but then it's tedious. You have to sit there. It takes about 25 minutes to get it going, and then you kind of have to babysit it a little bit. Well, at least I do, because I'm still learning the system. And I was really tormented because I had to do work for class, and I couldn't touch it for like 2 days because I had to get my work done. And I had this 3D printer sitting on my table. I was about to pull my hair out, man. But been doing the 3D printing, and the idea is to make prototypes of action figures from the film, and in the future to also do prototypes of toys for members of the site. And then also I'm working on a thing with my sister. It's not on a 3D tip. It's more on a plush toy deal where I have a site that I'm not going to release it until 2016 once I finish my doctoral work, because I'm going to put all of that research into that project. But it's a site for kids called Neocology, and we've been playing around with prototyping of plush toys, and the first one of those came off the press this week, and I posted it up in my albums on my page on the site. But one of the things that I'm most concerned with right now, and I think the Shin, somebody said I was being kind of morbid the last radio show, because I mentioned, making Black Science Fiction Society into a 501 or LLC so that it will last well beyond our years. But that's not being really morbid. I tend to think 10 to 20 years in advance on anything that I start on. So I'm looking forward to making the organization, making an official organization so that it can continue if something happens to me, because we put too much work into the site to do the site itself, the magazine, the anthology series, the 3D film, for something to happen to me or one of the other key people, and it all goes to naught. So with that said, if you get an opportunity, please go to the site and donate to the Black Science Fiction Forever campaign that I'm kind of did a light push on. And we raised about 200 so far, but I need to have 600 so that we can go ahead and slow this all the way up so that this thing will continue on forever. And
actually, you need 1,200. And the reason why you need 1,200 is because it's going to cost 600 to trademark everything after you get the LLC.
Oh, see, that's another kink.
I apologize for constantly being the sharpest crayon in the box, but I can't help myself.
Okay, well, feel free.
But just one trademark costs a minimum of $600.
Right, I know.
Definitely want to own your intellectual property. You know what I mean?
Right. Most definitely. And those are the two major things, or the few major things that are on the plate right now. There's always the movie. One good thing that this snowstorm has caused is it sat me down for a week. I think I've only worked 4.5 hours this week at the job. So I've been able to do some things with the movie. And also the same thing with Quasi, who's doing the storyboards. He informed me that we'll probably be done with the storyboarding this weekend based off the current amount of work that he's been putting in. And so that moves the project a little bit more forward. And so we're still on track on our timetable. So I'm really excited about that. And we're also throwing in a couple of things, a couple of random, not so much as random, but surprise characters that no one has seen in any of the promos that we've been putting out. So you won't be like, okay, we've seen everything. We already know what's going on. No, because there's the extra stuff in here you don't know about. So just to keep things interesting. But I'm really excited about what's going on with the site, the energy that's going on with the members. I'm just ecstatic right now, especially with this 3D thing coming off the press and these toys. I'm just like, wow. instead of just sitting back asking why we don't have this and why we don't have that, the people on the site here on Black Science Fiction Society, we don't just ask questions. We create what we want. We don't ask and beg other people to do it for us. We do stuff ourselves, and I'm really excited about that.
Mhm. Well, I mean, the thing is, there's so much going on. Plus, all the members who have new things that are going on. There's a ton of stuff going on all the time, and that's what makes it kind of what a great neighborhood it is. Great community.
Right.
I will tell you this. I've been pretty excited about this thing happening. For me, doing this, and so I want to see what I can do to promote BSFS. Excuse me, in this HBCU setting.
Awesome. Now, this is your first one, and I want you to just absorb it and enjoy every moment of it, because this is sort of like how I feel and what I experience when I go to the different Black Queens convention. It's you have a target audience, and they're coming there. You don't have to kind of scrounge and find people. They're coming there for for your knowledge and what you've created, and to get to meet them in person and talk to them, because they're going to ask you all kind of questions since they've been using it as a book for the course.
Sure. Yeah, and then I was also warned that there are such things as book groupies.
Don't go down there and get it.
I swear to you, somebody warned me about that. They said, just so that you know. And so, I feel like Danny Glover on that, on that account. I am getting too old for that. But the whole thing is exciting to me, and I'm one of the things that I did way back in 2001 when I wrote Discovery. I started looking very, very closely at my life, and not from an egomaniacal point of view. I just looked closely at it because I was looking to see that in the event that whatever I write generates a certain amount of buzz. It's not just publicity, but, what if the ideas do catch on? And I wasn't thinking Harry Potter-like or anything like that, but I was thinking about some of the sci-fi greats that I know. And I was thinking, well, if I ever raise my visibility that high, I should pay attention to what my life is like to see how it's going to change. I had a pretty good brush with celebrity in the 70s being, a club and radio disc jockey. That's a different form of celebrity. And you had to take the good with the bad. The bad is people know your business. They know where you are. They know what you're doing. They assume they know you and things like that. But I'm wondering what being a writer is going to be like. I had that one experience in November 8th, 2011. November 8th, 2011, I went to Walgreens. I went there to pick up a prescription. And you give them your birth date and stuff, and you give them your name. And the woman behind the counter says, "Are you William Hayashi, the author?"
Oh, yeah.
And so that's the very first time that happened, which is why I remember what the day was. So things do change, and this is an even bigger change. Being an invited participant for something this big is pretty cool, and I don't take it for granted. And I'm extremely, extremely thankful to everyone who has contributed to raising my visibility and valuing my work, because this is definitely not something that I did on my own.
Okay, most definitely. I bought two of them, so each one of them were well worth the $25+.
Sorry about that, man. I don't set the prices. But at least I got you a copy that Audrey could read to you, didn't I?
Oh, that's awesome. That saved me a lot of time on my, a lot of money on my car insurance.
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right. Well, look, we're way past time here, and I guess I can talk about myself for half an hour.
Oh, most definitely.
I hope we haven't. I haven't bored everybody who stayed, and we will. I will miss doing the show next week, but hopefully I'll have some audio from the festival and pictures of all of us, because you know all of us. You know everybody who's going to be down there. All y'all know all of us, as they say.
I think every person there has been a member of the site except Moses.
Except Walter Mosley, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll see what I can do to get him on. All right.
Yeah.
Well, on behalf of Jarvis and all the rest of the people who make all this happen, and James,
and the
who does, and James does the post processing of the show to put it up on the YouTube channel and things like that. I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank everybody for their support. I want to thank Jarvis for having given me this opportunity to get back into broadcasting. And I'll catch up with you guys shortly.
All right. And on that note, thanks everybody. I appreciate it. The YouTube site will probably be open for business next week. We just had a few more graphics to upload. And I really want to thank everyone for their support with everything that you do. Coming here and spending your time listening to us talk crazy and sharing what we do. And thanks as always for you, Will, making everything entertaining. All right, now I got to go down here and get some wings or something.
All right, everybody take care, and I'll see you all in 2 weeks.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. 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 Bye.